it's the Sky Priestess. I figured I would make this a pre-recorded video because my internet connection is not that great, and on top of that, unfortunately, I don't have access to the hall right now to do my videos. So I figure I might as well get this to you in a way in which my words will be legible. So as all of you ought to know, we are headed for a very powerful lunar eclipse on May the 5th. And it's a Scorpio eclipse, or rather an eclipse in the sign of Scorpio. And it's an energy that is, of course, already, underway because eclipses have a window of plus minus 1 week. And the Scorpio eclipse is something that can touch on a whole bunch of areas in life. But generally, Scorpio has to do with things like your psyche, how deep you go into your psyche. It can go into your subconscious. It can go into parts of the body that have to do with the reproductive system, the bowels. It can deal with finances. It can deal with things like alimony and divorces. It can deal with very, very, very powerful unions and also the breaking of very, very powerful unions. There's a lot that can come up. Now, the thing with lunar eclipses is that they are part of a much larger series of eclipses. And so whatever you do during an eclipse doesn't necessarily just influence that point in time. They occur in 18-year cycles, and you can look up the Saros cycle for the eclipse to see how this point that is about to happen has connected to points in the past. So, that's also something to bear in mind. That's one of the reasons why I tend to keep eclipses clear these days, because you don't necessarily want to seed in things that are not so great, or maybe things that just appeared left field and you're not really sure what to do about them on the day of the eclipse, into a much longer astrological cycle. So keep it clear, keep it light as much as you can, because I know that not everyone has the flexibility to determine their schedule in this way. But the most important thing I would say is to take things lightly. Now, even though Scorpio wants you to go deep, and I know this sounds like a bit of a paradox, but hear me out. Even though Scorpio wants you to go deep, even though it can be very, very caught up in this energy of control, the way you deal with it is by observing it. And the less reactive you are to observing this energy, the more you can actually do something about it. Which I know sounds counterintuitive, because Scorpio feels so compelling. It feels almost unresistible. It feels like the force of gravity itself. You can't do anything about it, but you can. If something comes up, take a step back and observe. Take a deep breath. Remember that this is you having an experience in the here and now, and you have that right to determine how you respond to that experience. Maybe you don't have any control over it, but what you do have control over is how you respond to it, whatever it is. Take a step back and observe. Another key thing that is going to be coming up is also the theme of detachment and compassion. Now, for the Buddhists, they're already celebrating this as Vesak Day, because the Buddhists believe that Siddhartha Gautama was born, achieved enlightenment, and left his physical form during a Scorpio full moon. So it is especially special for them. But the figure of the Buddha gives us the sum of the teaching, which is compassionate detachment and the middle way. You don't need to push too hard. You don't need to pull backwards too much. It's all about finding that center point. Now, if you were to look at what this actually means in practice, now you may wonder, well, what does this have to do with spirituality and so on and so forth? Everything is about spirituality. Every choice we make, who we are with, what we eat, how we respond to things in our environment, how we respond to the people around us, what job we choose to do, what road we choose to walk on a particular day. It may not seem like much, but all of these things are things that feed into the larger path. So whatever does come up, even if it seems very 3D, even if it seems like your spiritual path should be somewhere out there in some elevated space, that's not necessarily the case. Your path is determined by how you face what is coming up. It is not determined by how well you escape what is coming up. It is by facing what is actually there, and by facing it with detachment and with compassion. When you realize that you are observing a reaction in your body, or you are observing a particular situation, that does create a little space, which you could call a space of detachment. People are afraid of detachment because they think it means that you don't have emotions. But detachment basically just means that you're not run by your emotions. It means that you're willing to engage with something without being overly attached to the outcome or how it can evolve in a particular way. It's very process centered rather than, fixating on a particular point of view. And when you see detachment as a very process specific way of looking at a situation without necessarily giving in to those immediate impulses, you can also see how compassion feeds into that equation. When you realize what a situation is presenting to you, in terms of what it asks of you, in terms of what you can or may become through that situation, in terms of how your life may be changed in terms of that situation, that is where you can actually ask that key question. Is this outcome necessarily aligned with who I am? Does it actually allow me to practice a healthy kind of love for myself and for whoever is in the situation with me? A lot of the time, people use the word compassion to actually mean enabling, which is terrible. When you truly love a being, you cannot and will not engage in a particular activity that allows that person to degrade themselves further. Even if you think that you're giving them what they want, at the level of the soul, whatever it is you may be enabling may be hurting them in ways that you can't see. And that is why love and compassion doesn't always mean cuddles. That is why being detached in this way is so powerful, but at the same time, it can be absolutely terrifying. If you are at this time finding yourself being overrun by emotions or what someone else thinks that you need to do, take a step back. You are here because you are having an experience. Your soul wanted to have an experience on this earth at this time. So why would you discount your own perspective? Why would you discount your own right to be who you are and to respond to things in a way that aligns from the deepest part of you? That is part and parcel of the path. A lot of people talk about compassion. They talk about compassion for this, compassion for that, but they don't have compassion for themselves. That's certainly a lesson I have had to learn. And I'm not speaking from a place of having learned it all. Oh God, no. I'm working on that myself. But the more you actually see how those larger concepts we identify as being spiritual need to be translated into here and now, that is when the process of spirituality stops becoming, an armchair discussion and actually becomes embodied. Make choices that align with true compassion. Not just compassion for yourself, but also compassion for the earth. Not just compassion for what it is you want and who it is you are, but also compassion for those who are around you. But bear in mind, compassion may also mean having that awareness, having genuine feeling, but also choosing to walk in a different direction because it's not always cuddly. So these are some of the key lessons and key opportunities that can come up during this upcoming lunar eclipse. I mean, there is so many, there's so much to it. I touch upon some of this as part of my Tier 23 report, but I'm still giving you the core of it because this work is about helping people. And this is the most important part of this information, which can help you at a practical level. Of course, some people are going to be very, very called to go into very deep, dark, mysterious, occult stuff. Okay, that's their path, that's their journey. If you're following me, or rather following my work, you know that I'm going to ask you one thing. Have you applied whatever it is you're doing to the here and now? Does your spirit, or rather what you assume about your spirituality, reflect your material world? Does what you think of yourself in the spiritual realm reflect who you are in the here and now? And those are the kinds of questions you may want to bring to your awareness, especially as the Scorpio lunar eclipse is bringing up all kinds of stuff with other people, in which you are going to need to touch back to these key points and really ask yourself what is going on. Bear in mind, no matter what is happening to you, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's pleasurable, whether it's painful, these are all different reflections of some aspect of your experience with spirit. Sometimes it's a karmic thing that you need to clear. And sometimes it's the sum of good actions from a long time ago. Whatever it is reflecting something to you. When you can remember that, you will have mastered several key aspects of spirituality and put it into practice in the here and now. And I hope that is something that all of you are aspiring to. Watch out for the ego. Watch out for emotion. Watch out for entitlement that can come up. These are the kinds of things that can drag even the most sincere seeker down. Observe that reaction and ask where it comes from. And that will help you. And that's about it. Take care. Very many blessings. Lots of love to everyone. Just a quick heads up, we do see Venus doing a whole bunch of stuff, including opposing the galactic center at this time. So pay attention to who enters your life, who exits your life, what kinds of relationships, contracts, or partnerships you are drawn to at this time, and really ask yourself if it mirrors, if it reflects these key questions vis-a-vis your spiritual path which you are working on at this time. Jupiter trining the galactic center also reinforces this message again and again and again. You are your path. It is that simple. Take care. Very many blessings. Ciao, ciao for now, and bye-bye.